of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. At this time, we'll have a proclamation. This proclamation will be for Wagga Wagga Week. The city of Leavenworth is proud. The city of Leavenworth is proud and honored to welcome the 2023 Quest winners, Kate Pavir, Miss Wagga Wagga, and Haley Birkinshaw, Community Princess, to the city of Leavenworth. The sister city affiliation of the city of Leavenworth with Wagga Wagga was established in the year 1962. The visit of Kate and Haley has strengthened the bonds of friendship between the two cities that has prevailed for some 61 years. The spirit of good will be extended throughout their visit as local civic organizations, community members, and elected officials have the chance to meet and converse with these lovely Australian ladies. We do commend Kate Pavir, Miss Wagga Wagga, and Haley Birkinshaw, Community Princess, as ambassadors to the city of Leavenworth that have fostered the ongoing relationships of our sister city, Wagga Wagga, New South Wales, Australia. I, Jermaine Wilson, Mayor of the City of Leavenworth, Kansas, hereby proclaim August 21st through 27th as Wagga Wagga Week. Please feel free to say a few words.
Wow. First of all, thank you very much for inviting us here to the beautiful city of Leavenworth. We've already been absolutely blown away by the hospitality that we've been shown, and we're very humbled to play just a small part in a very important history that is the sister city relationships, and especially between Leavenworth and Wagga. So thank you very much. We definitely didn't expect Wagga Wagga Week, but very, very excited to be a part of that. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, old business, consideration of previous meeting minutes from August 8th, 2023, regular meeting. If there's no questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
A second.
A motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Leanne Hart.
Aye.
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 Motion carried 4-0. Next item on the agenda, second consideration ordinance number 8222, approval to levy special assessments for nuisance abatement costs.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, this item will be handled by Sarah Bodensteiner, our city clerk.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, before you tonight for second consideration is the ordinance for special assessments for unpaid nuisance abatements. I will add that since publication of the agenda, we have received an additional 6 payments, so that has brought the total number down, which is great. But the item before you is for a roll call vote to approve the ordinance.
Any questions or comments? This requires a roll call, starting with Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
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 Vote passed 4-0. Next item on the agenda, new business. This is open to anyone in the public that wishes to address the commission to discuss any items that is not on the agenda. Did we have anyone sign up?
No.
Okay. Next item on the agenda, public hearing exceeding of the revenue neutral rate. Motion to open a public meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
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 We are now into a public meeting, public hearing.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, I do have a staff presentation before we get into the citizen comments, closing the public hearing and then considering the resolution. So this is the public hearing to exceed the revenue neutral rate. So I guess the question is, why are we here? Starting on June 20th, when I presented the city-supported budget for 2022 and the capital improvements 5-year budget, the proposal was for a revenue-neutral city-supported budget. Subsequent public meetings, June 30th, City Commission day-long budget hearings, July 11th, follow-up to discuss LCDC and Main Street, July 18th to discuss final determination on Main Street, as well as the budget that's been published on the city's website and available at the city clerk's office, includes a 2.688 mil reduction in city-supported services, which is revenue neutral. From the beginning to today, it remains the case that the city-supported mill levy is revenue neutral. So why are we here? Two reasons. The first one is a bit of a technical reason. Every year, there is a percentage of property taxes that are delinquent. To get down into the weeds, and it does get this far, last year, 1.463115% of property taxes were delinquent. So that's the forecast that we used for the year before. If a few more people are delinquent, the city would collect a little bit less. If one more person paid their property taxes, the city could receive $10, $12, $15, $20 more, and we would exceed revenue neutral. So because we're 2.688 all the way out to the 10th, 100th, 1,000th decimal, because of the delinquency rate, we have to hold this. The second reason is because the city levies property taxes on behalf of the Leavenworth Public Library. This is included, the state included this when they enacted the revenue neutral statute. The state had flexibility whether to include a jurisdiction like the library or not, and the decision was made to include them. So because we levy on their behalf, and their levy is not technically revenue neutral, the city then has to hold the hearing. The library is exempted from those hearings. The state had quite a bit of flexibility in how they crafted it. For example, the state had the ability to include themselves in the revenue neutral discussion, and they elected not to. So they exempted themselves, and they are not revenue neutral. And that was a decision made just like it was to have the library included. So let's talk about the numbers. Why are we here? If you'll look at the budget or the presentation on the board, you will see that the City of Leavenworth's 2023 mill rate of 25.654 did represent a 1 mil reduction from the year before. We received the revenue neutral rate from the county clerk. Let me get my laser pointer here. And that's 22.966 mils. You will see that the city is proposing to levy 22.965, or 1/1000th actually below the revenue neutral rate. So the City of Leavenworth city-supported mill is revenue neutral. You will see that the library has two levies. One is the general fund. Last year it was 3.516. They did cut it back for 2024, but it does not meet the revenue neutral definition set out in statute, which is 3.148. The library also levies a library employee benefits fund levy. And again, that went from 9.965 to 0.931. Again, a reduction, but not a reduction to the level of the revenue neutral rate. So what does that mean overall? In relation to the revenue neutral statute, the city's mill, which is the city and the library, dropped from 30.135 mils down to 27.397 mils. But that is 0.419 mils above the combined revenue neutral rate. Is that clear? Is there any questions at this point?
No.
Okay. These are the same numbers presented at the June 30th meeting that is included in your book. So this has been the case since the beginning. So the next question is, what does that mean dollar-wise? So for a property owner in Leavenworth with a house value of $225,000, and this seems low, but the Census Bureau does say that the median home value is $142,300. It means $10.84 a year or 90 cents a month. So that means the city of Leavenworth would collect from somebody with a $225,000 house 90 cents more a month in 2024, and that would be passed on to the library, not the city of Leavenworth. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So, since we're talking so much about the library, why does the city levy for the library? The library is not empowered by statute to levy on their own. So 37 years ago, in 1986, the city of Leavenworth passed Charter Ordinance 29, whereby the city determined that it would levy on behalf of the library and set a cap in 1986 of 3.75 mils for operations. That is the cap that is in place today, and it has not increased since June 10th of 1986. The next one is the library's limit is 3.75 mils, yet the library's levy is 4.432 if you put that employee benefits fund. How is that possible? In 1995, the city enacted an ordinance creating a employee benefits contribution fund, and that levy is limited to 5 specific uses. Social Security, these are for employees. CAPERS contribution, workers' comp benefits, unemployment benefits, and health insurance premiums. So that's why if you look back at the number, it's so specific because it's related to those employee benefits determined by their payroll and by their employees. If you'll also look at this number 3.501, technically the library is leaving funds that they could levy on the table. They can levy up to 3.75 mils. They're levying 3.501. So the next question is, the city levies, but can it limit the library's levy? The answer to that is no. Who says no? The Office of the Attorney General in 1982 said that the amount of money to be raised through the imposition of a property tax to maintain a library established under KSA 12-1218 is to be determined by the Board of Directors of the library, not the governing body of the municipality. Although the sum requested cannot result in a mill levy in excess of that allowed by law, the governing body of the municipality may not reduce the amount requested by the library board. So they can go up to 3.75. They've chosen 3.501, but the city cannot reduce the levy requested by the library. So does that mean that residents in the city of Leavenworth will only pay 90 cents more a month? And the answer to that is I don't know, because the city of Leavenworth does not control the majority of the property tax in the county. The city of Leavenworth controls less than $1 out of $5 that our residents pay in property taxes. About 18% of the property taxes paid by a Leavenworth resident comes to the city of Leavenworth. So I don't know, and it's up to those jurisdictions what their levy is to determine what the individual's property tax bill would be. That's what this governing body has control over. One thing I did want to point out is this slide is not meant to point the finger at any other agency. Every other agency has an elected governing body. They have their own budget. I'm not privy to all the discussions that go in, their revenue sources. I'm just simply saying that the city accounts for less than $1 out of $5 that goes to your property tax bill. In fact, the city has the most diverse revenue stream of these taxing subdivisions. 32% of the city's overall revenue is sales tax based. Only 14% is funded by property taxes. That gives us the flexibility to cut a little bit on property taxes if sales tax is doing well. Sales tax is the most volatile revenue stream, so we do worry a little bit about over-reliance on sales tax, and I will actually get into that in a slide or two. We are seeing that trend shift markedly in the last 90 days. Okay. So why did the city, what were the factors involved in the city proposing a revenue neutral rate for city-supported funds? The first one is we had a stable and sustainable reserve position brought about by careful consideration of expenses and projects over many years. This commission over the last 2 years, the previous commission before that, we had gotten our city reserve level above our 30%, which 30%, that's a whole nother study session. That's not a number picked out of the air. That's based on our rating agencies' best practices throughout the industry. So when we got that to 36, 37 through the pandemic, we used that this year so that we would have a safe and stable reserve, but that we wouldn't have excess reserves. The second factor was that we had a complete retention of all revenue streams. Now what that means is there are other entities that dictate our revenue streams and what they may be. In this case, I want to highlight two that were under consideration by the state. There was a bill to eliminate the local sales tax on groceries. If you remember from the previous slide, we rely heavily on sales tax to go to revenue neutral and to fund city operations. The reduction or the loss of the local sales tax on groceries would have been between $1.2 and $1.6 million in revenue for the city, which equates to 4 to 6 mils. The other thing is the full property tax participation by Leavenworth residents and businesses. There was also a bill in the legislature to exempt restaurants, to exempt fitness centers, and at one point child care centers from property taxes. So the first one would have slashed sales tax revenue, the second one would have slashed property tax revenue, and the city would have been left to continue to fund services with reduced revenue. You often hear other revenue. Can we use other revenue other than property taxes? Other revenue helps, but when other revenue is undercut by levels that we can't control, that makes it almost impossible. Maybe the most important factor of why we were able to go revenue neutral this year for 2024, or propose that, was that sales tax revenue in the post-pandemic years, 21 and 22, came in well over forecast. Why? Stimulus dollars maybe, people weren't traveling maybe, they had more disposable income to spend at Walmart, maybe buy a new car. But on my next slide, I'll show you that trend is already reversing. And then finally, it was the commission's direction. The commission said, let's take care of what we have, let's not expand. We understand that our residents and our businesses are experiencing tough times. Let's not do anything new. Let's maintain what we have. Let's maintain the workforce we have. And so that's what we did. And those factors allowed us to cut to revenue neutral. This slide's a bit busy and I won't go through all of it, but I wanted to show you it for two reasons. The first one is, if you will look at the lines 2021 actual and 2022 actual, you'll see sales tax exceeded budget by 1.1 million on both of those. That's what I'm talking about. Over the post-pandemic years, we budgeted for sales tax growth, 2 to 2.5%. It came in at 4.5%, 5% because of that unanticipated spending. So we used that to be able to get to revenue neutral for 2024, those sales tax dollars. If you look at the bottom section, you will see that in 2023, we are already $353,000 behind on our forecasted sales tax increase, and most of that has happened recently. You'll see in the headlines that for the first time in history, there's $1 trillion of credit card debt in America. The pandemic savings has pretty much been blown through. So we are seeing sales tax numbers regress to the numbers that we would have expected, 2 to 2.5% solid growth, but not what we've seen, which was 4, 5, 6% growth. So we are seeing those come down. So finally, where are we? This is the budget that's before you. The revenue neutral has to be voted on this evening. If the revenue neutral is voted to exceed, or it's voted not to exceed, the library still receives their requested amount because the city cannot lower that request. If you do not exceed revenue neutral, this difference, this 0.419, would have to come from the city-supported mill. So then we would have to make an adjustment to the city-supported mill. So I know I went through that fast. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I know we have public comment, but I wanted to give you sort of a full picture of why we're here tonight and what we're considering.
Any questions from the commission? Thank you for the presentation.
Yeah, detailed as always. I appreciate it, Paul.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Paul.
You got any questions?
Not for Paul right now, no.
I do have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, I do too.
Understanding we cannot demand that the library lower their mill. Can we request it?
I'll say two things on that. The first one is the library presented their mill proposal on June 30th, and we have not asked in the last 2 months for them to do that. The second part is I'll say is absolutely you can, but you have to vote on revenue neutral tonight.
Oh, yeah.
So you can ask them, you could exceed and then request that they come up with all of it or some portion, and then it would be up to the library if they wanted to. They can always reduce from what they asked for. They and the city cannot exceed what's been sent out for notification.
And Paul, to that point, we could also, if we voted against, we could still ask them to come down.
Yeah, you could absolutely request that they come down. If they did, great. If they didn't, it would then be have to be reduced from the city-supported mill.
Okay.
How much is that in dollars?
So the 0.419 comes out to about $128,000. So they have about a $1.4 million budget, so it's somewhere around 10% of their budget. 8 to 10% of their budget.
I have a question, Paul. So that 128,000 or whatever, if we went revenue neutral, and you said then that would come to the city and would have to find that money for the library?
If the library determined that they could not cut their budget and meet their obligations by cutting 0.419, and then yes, then the city would be required to reduce our mill levy by 0.419. In addition to what we've
Where
done
would
at
that
this point.
money come from the city? Would you have to cut certain
Well,
infrastructure or
Yeah,
fire,
I mean,
please?
so what we would do is if it didn't, the budget actually could not be voted on tonight because staff would, because the budget in front of you is funded on 22.965 mils. We would have to make that change and then make a recommendation to you at the September 12th meeting.
If it was revenue neutral.
That's correct.
And so the timeline, the deadlines has to be September 12th regardless.
Yeah, so it'll make it easy after tonight, the budget can either be voted on tonight as it is, if the revenue exceeding passes. If it fails, then the budget with that reduction would come back before the commission on September 12th. And that would be the last time, because at that point, we're running up against you reserve one more budget before you're statutorily required to get it to the county clerk's office.
I don't want to speak for anybody in the commission here, and not everybody's thoughts are my thoughts, but to Commissioner Leonhard's question, where would the money come from? If we have to cut .419 out of our budget, you can start with my compensation. That's how I feel about it.
It's a small donation, but yeah, you can take mine too.
Well, it's actually set by ordinance, so that it's a little more complicated than that. Yeah.
We can, well, it would be that.
I'll pay it too.
It would mean.
No, and it's no pressure on anybody, but I'm just like,
Yeah.
you guys did a great job, and Roberta, oh my goodness, like, I don't want your secret getting out that you work for us, okay? Because it's great, and I love the 10-year plan out there. You guys nailed it on the budget. It's, if it wasn't the library, I mean, and everybody loves the library. It provides a great resource to the city. We just working on asphalt over there, right? So,
Right. And they
you know.
have a strategic plan that they got a lot of surveys back from the public of what is, needed for them to improve, because it's been, the late 80s that was
Right.
moved there.
And-
Doing great work for the
And-
public.
They are.
I would disagree with your use of the word needed. The
Well-
library is full of a whole lot of things that they want.
Well, no, okay. It's not what they want, because they did the survey for the comprehensive plan, and they got back
Yeah.
from the public what the
What-
public wants for their
Exactly.
city library.
Yep.
So it's not, it's not the library employees sitting there
No,
going,
no.
oh, I want this and this, there's
No,
people
no,
that said,
I
hey,
understand what
we
you're
want our
saying.
updated library
The
like
people want
maybe some other
more.
place. That's right.
I understand.
Yeah, we're good.
I think the bind we get in is, I mean, you said it, Paul, we've had that ordinance with the library since 37 years now this year? It's been in place for a while, and okay, but I don't know that, maybe even the library would be more free if they weren't underneath the city's umbrella, and the taxpayers could decide how much money they want to give to them. I don't know. I don't know what that would look like. But
They are a city library under Kansas statute, and that governs a lot of how city libraries are run.
they are currently, but they wouldn't have to be going forward if the commission decided another avenue. I'm just asking.
I mean, perhaps a separate library district could be formed in some way. That'd be a whole voting process.
No, it's just a question right now, more of, possibilities, because like I said, the city's good on, this year to not exceed. And that's what I hate about that. And like you said, we're in a bind because, we can't make the library do anything different. No matter how good, we could have a tax cut with the current structure, but depending on what they did, we could actually still exceed revenue neutral.
Right, and to be fair, we did reach revenue neutral basically on sales tax and reserves, which
Correct.
they have neither of. They are almost fully funded by property tax.
And by reducing the city's mills any more than what it is now, that would affect the investment that we're making off in our in staff employees, correct?
I mean, that's subjective.
Okay.
We would just have to make an adjustment somewhere.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I said, I know the goal for the city was to definitely go revenue
Commission would
neutral.
probably provide some direction on what programs you want to see cut.
Yeah, I think we're barely getting by, and I just love the fact that we did just make an investment off into the city staff with increasing their salaries in order to make, us more competitive with other surrounding cities when it comes to providing services. And so I think the city has done a great job, and on top of that, still been able to, reduce the mills and
And
go revenue neutral.
I totally
Yeah.
agree. I mean, they did a good job of hitting a good target, which was different, than some previous years and everything like that. And so no squabbles, this year with the city budget. I think, Paul and Roberta, you guys have been moving a lot of things around to make it happen and doable and better long-term too. So no squabbles there. It's more of, we're in a bind because we can't hit our number because of, we're limited because we are grouped in with the library at this point.
So at this time, if there's no other comments from the commission, I want to ask the public unless you got another question.
I agree with Griff, very much so. Many of those folks sitting along the back wall and even in the side here, you know, and Roberta and you have worked your tushes off,
Yep.
okay, and done a tremendous job and a tremendous service to this city in coming up with a budget that not only provides for the employees, but also provides for the city, you know? And so I really thank all of you for working your tushes off.
Well, and in a highly inflationary environment, to stay steady while costs continue to go up. But like you just pointed out, Paul, consumer spending is starting to trend down. And I don't think it's because people have more money in their pockets right now. You know, car payments are over $1,000 a month in some cases right now. And people aren't seeing their income go up the same rate. And a lot of folks, I had somebody comment to me the other day, like, you know, he said my 1 month of my retirement goes to covering my housing costs. And I know other folks are worried about if they're going to keep their homes, and it just feel, and I've prayed about it, and the more I think about it and pray about it, it's like we're in this spot because something's broken. And I'm not saying it's Leavenworth, I'm not casting blame on anything. You know, as a country, there's several things that are broken, and I don't know where you begin to fix it, but I feel like, you know, if we just continue, the answer is not just to continue creeping up taxes, property taxes everywhere we look. I don't even like talking mills because people just want to know, am I paying more than I did last year or not?
And the dollar.
Yeah. And so, and you know, the Martin household feels it too. Things are, you know, continue to go up, and I don't know, it's, we're all talking about sustainability as a country right now. This is not sustainable. It's not. As minor as it might be, and there's always a great reason why we need to up it just a little bit more, always, just a little bit more. And you look over the years, I mean, look at where we've come from. It is out of control. I don't believe Leavenworth can fix it for everybody, but we can also, I believe we can lead by example. And, you know, I don't know what the long-term solution is. I'll say that right now. I know the challenges we would be faced with if we maintain revenue neutral, and if we didn't pass this to exceed. I know what that can mean for us a little bit more long-term. You've done a good job pointing that out, Paul. But, you know, but overall, still folks are, when they're worried about whether or not they're going to stay in their house or if they can afford it and what that looks like. I had somebody comment to me, they're like, you know, my income has to be revenue neutral. It's fixed. It stays the same. And I don't know. These are my thoughts. I'm just sounding like a broken record right now, but I just feel really strongly about it. And you know, I wasn't even sure. I was torn on things back and forth earlier on because you guys did a good job of really re-navigating and showing some mill reductions over the next 10 years, which I think is great, ways that we can do that. So like I said, I just want to say it again, I don't have a long-term solution, but it's broken now, and continuing down the road that we've been on for a while, I don't see how that's going to make anything better for anybody here in Leavenworth, especially since we're already seeing the consumer spending go down. We had we had a record number of 401k withdrawals. The last one, let's say, is the last couple months or a quarter for hardship withdrawals. People are feeling it. They're feeling the pinch on the dollar right now. It continues to go down, value of the dollar. So that's again, everybody's going to decide what they're going to decide tonight, and I definitely want to hear from anybody that has any comment. But I appreciate you listening.
So at this time, anyone from the public wish to address the commission? Ask that you come up to the podium, state your name and your address, please.
Good evening. I am Clarissa Ribby, and I've only been a resident of Leavenworth since August 2021, so 2 years. When we bought our house, from the time we bought our house to now, our house has been assessed upward over almost $37,000. And our property tax has gone up over $1,000. Of course, we live in an older home. It's a decent home. But what I don't understand is when I look at the tax bill, there, like for the school district, it says other. It started at 12% or so, and it jumped up to over 40% increase. So I'm trying to figure out, like you were saying, something is broken. We buy a house here in Leavenworth. We work hard to keep it up, presentable, and we're paying all these taxes for what? If I had a budget and it said other, and it went up over 40%, up to 40%, I don't think you all would be happy with that if it just said other. I want to know where my money is going. I don't have children in the school district, right? And that's okay. I'm an educator or a former educator. I understand the needs of school districts, but I won't accept other as a reason for increasing my taxes upward to 40%. So I hear what you're saying as far as the library, what their needs are, and so forth. All I'm asking is, you answer my why. Where is my money actually going? I work hard, my husband works hard. We pay our taxes on time, lots of it, every year. I want to know. I'm not like saying you can tell me if you want to. No, I want to know where my money's going. If you're going to assess my home over $30,000 in just 2 years,
It may be valuable, and I know we don't get it back and forth.
Yeah.
The city has nothing to do with assessments.
Property valuation, no.
Assessments are set by state statute and done by the county appraiser. The city has zero to do with the assessment value of your home, nor do we have anything to do with the school district. The city, these four people of five, control one thing, and that's this city Leavenworth line item. We do not control anything dealing with assessments of property. That is a county and a state function, not a city function.
so the city, and I'm just trying to
Yeah,
learn
we have
myself.
nothing to do with it.
So the city gets none of that money.
The city has nothing to do with setting the value of your property. That is completely independent of the city of Leavenworth,
We get,
100%.
State and county to assess the evaluation.
they assess, and then we have to deal with how that money is gonna be spent, the property tax that comes in, where it's gonna be divided, like how it's gonna be used.
About 18% comes to the city.
Yeah, so we are a taxing entity based off of, valuations and everything like that. And I don't wanna get off track,
Sure.
Paul, so keep an eye, on that, but, we still have to decide how much money goes back, what it looks like, and how much you're gonna pay. So the state said, hey, you're gonna owe this much, depending on how much we levy, is depending on what we decide for the budget, and so what you'll actually feel, on your side.
For the city portion.
So we do not assess, but we can still control some of the impact that you'll feel on your wallet.
Okay.
And the services we're providing you is the police, fire, safety, parks, recreation, library, all of those services. That comes directly from the city.
Infrastructure,
Infrastructure and all of
streets,
those
yeah.
things.
And it is messed up at the state level, I'm telling you that
Yes.
right now. I'm tired of finding out, well, it's gray. Well, there's formulas. That's messed up and it needs to be fixed.
So who should call to figure that out?
Who's that?
When I find out,
State
I can let you know.
Be a state
Who would we
representative.
need to contact
Yeah.
if it's state?
So hold on, just so we don't get out of order.
Yeah.
Each person has an opportunity to speak, and we ask that we do keep the comments to limited to 3 minutes. I should have addressed that early on, so that's my apologies. But ma'am, you are more than welcome to come up to the podium and talk as well. And this is open to anyone, and so I should have stated that before, so I apologize. If you're done talking. Yes,
I just
ma'am.
have one more thing.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Just a comment.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
When we moved here last year, I don't think I was in the house more than 48 hours, and 2 individuals showed up in my house with clipboards saying they were from the assessor's office, didn't show me ID, anything, and literally were trying to walk into my house, and I stopped them from coming in.
Oh, wow, yeah, that shouldn't
Right.
happen. Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, wait a minute, what are you doing? And they were like, we're from the assessor's office. I said, I don't know who you are, I don't see any ID, you know, what are you doing? And the gentleman was like, oh yeah, oh, I'm sorry. So he reaches in his shirt, pulls out his ID, and I was like, okay. And the lady that was with him was upset with me because I wouldn't let her, she wanted to come into the house and look throughout the house. I had never heard of anything like that before.
And again, that's all the county
Yeah,
assessor's
that's, yeah.
office.
Okay.
that's-
Not the city of
All
Leavenworth.
right, yeah, I just wanted you all to be aware that it was happening,
Yes, ma'am.
right? Okay, thank you so much.
Appreciate you, ma'am. Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.
Appreciate it. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Appreciate you.
So, my name is Mara D. Herrera, and I live on Olive Street. I've been there for 17 years. My rates have also just doubled up like hers did. So who do I call when it goes to the state level? If you can give me some numbers or contact on who we need to call about that. Then the other question is, why can't we get some of this revenue coming in by raising our sales tax a little bit more so everybody feels it? Not just the homeowners or the city employees or whatever.
So sales tax,
I'd
yeah.
even be willing to go up another %. I have no problem with that because everybody's paying for it then. And everybody drives on the roads, everybody participates in the park, everybody goes to school, everybody benefits from the library. So it would be cost-effective citywide if everybody has to pay just a smidge more on sales.
And
ahead.
we were tapped out. The state sets the city's tax, sales tax at 2% and the county's at 1%. And we are at 2% on the local city. And so we cannot levy any more sales tax in the city of Leavenworth for the city budget.
So
Going-
sales tax is capped, sorry.
Sales tax is capped.
But the state can screw our insurance, our houses and everything else all they want.
Yeah, so the state legislature sets the formulas that are used to appraise properties, and then the county appraiser uses those state statutes to appraise properties. So it would have to be changed by the formula used by the county appraiser's office, and that is set by the state legislature. That's your Kansas House and your Kansas Senate. That's who sets the formula to assess property in the state of Kansas.
The assessment rates are set forth in the Kansas Constitution.
Now,
So
there's,
So it's the state representatives that you definitely want to reach out to. Our senators, our
Gotcha.
state representatives, those are the ones that we definitely want to address. Election time is coming up. That's one of the things that should be
That's
the number
fair.
one topic.
That's fair.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Okay, I know you've already addressed all the issues that taxing.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
I bought my house, $55,000. It's saying that it's worth,
Your name, please, ma'am?
Mary Bergman on Second Avenue.
Okay.
And it's saying on my tax thing that it's worth thousands of dollars. Okay, I'm disabled, retired, fixed income, I'm sucking off my IRA, I might not have enough money left over to pay my taxes. What do you do then? I'm on the street. Wasn't there other states that are freezing senior citizens, 65 and older's taxes? Can they find out a way to do this for us? The taxes are eating me out of house and home. I've got to ignore my house repairs. My street is okay. You know, it could use paving, everyone could, but I don't have any potholes around my road or anything. But it's just getting uncontrolled. I cannot see me paying $142,000 taxes for a $55,000 house. And when I go to sell it, I can't ask for $142,000 for my house. It's a small house. I live within my means. I use maybe $10 or less a day for food. Plus, I have to buy medicine, I have to do all this other stuff. I have to buy the heavy-duty gas because gas is going up. You know, I can't even afford to go to Walmart. I go to Walmart once a month because I don't have the money to go. Is there a way they can cap senior citizens? I'm over 65. I may not, you know. I've lost 50 pounds in the last 2 years because I don't have enough money to do all this stuff. Is there a way they can freeze senior citizens' taxes.
And our legislators in a position, man, where they can do anything that they want
And
to.
you're gonna say the city of Leavenworth has no clue of what to do about it.
No, we can,
no,
we
no.
we
Is
there
can
any way
impact
you
that.
can
We
help
can
us?
impact
We
that.
can still do our part, like I said.
Is there a way, though?
Well, and that's what we're having this discussion tonight about, ma'am. And
I
so,
really think they should cap the senior citizens.
Yeah, there's some proposals to cap, looking at a 4% cap, I think is being bandied about by the
'Cause
legislature.
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to afford taxes
But
next year.
your state senator and representative and their legislative cycle comes up in January, and so, that's who makes those determinations.
My car taxes and tags, those are outrageous. I can't, I bought a '01 truck, and it's so high, It's just it doesn't even have air conditioning in it. And they're charging me a lot for the taxes, property taxes. Then I got my house taxes. You're eating me out of house and home with taxes. Raise the sales tax again and let the other people. I have no children. I only got a small dog, and she don't eat much. She eats whatever I don't. I share my food with her, but it's getting outrageous. We need to cap the senior citizens. I know the younger people need it too, but I worked myself to death almost. I almost died because I worked so hard. I'm just lucky that I have a little bit of sensibility to me.
understand, ma'am.
But I put in over 40 years worth of work, and I'm tired of working. I can't afford to go back again. Just to pay taxes. I refuse to pay taxes over, losing my house. I do pay my taxes, I did, but it took all my savings. What am I gonna do next year? I have to do without so I can afford to pay the taxes. It's just sucking me dry. I'm sure other people are feeling just like I am, but I can't help it. I have to say something.
Ma'am, I appreciate you saying something. I'm going to say it again. The system is broken. We have some good men and women in the House and Senate. It's still too slow, okay? It's too slow.
Somebody needs to put a fire underneath their butt and get us taken care of. We are Leavenworth. Let's be proud of our town and proud of our people. Right now, I'm ashamed to tell them where I live.
Well, ma'am, and I encourage you to continue to spread your message and let your voices be heard. And it is important that we do get the right officials in office that's going to represent and carry that burden along with you into the House of Representatives, and also as well as our senators to be able to speak on your behalf. And so we can get the right people to make the decision that's not only going to impact you, but our state as a whole.
Please speak for us, please.
Yes, ma'am.
We need this. We need to be capped somewhere, or like the last lady said, 1 more percent. I can pay 1 more percent once in a while, when I go once a month.
Yeah.
But, I don't even go out to eat. I don't go anywhere.
Yes, ma'am.
But thank you for your time, and I appreciate it if you could help us.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Gerard Overby, 4108 Grand Avenue, Leavenworth. I come to you today exactly 1 year ago when I asked you to consider revenue neutral vote for the citizens and the people of Leavenworth. I reminded you that we are in a recession and folks are hit hard with rising gas prices, approximately $5 a gallon now, and high grocery bills, and those things haven't changed. Folks on a fixed income have to make hard decisions. Do I pay the taxes on my property, or do I put food on the table? Yes, tax folks is out of their homes so they have to sell. Folks who have been here 5 or 6 generations are now forced out of their homes and lands. I asked you last year to return to revenue neutral and use some of the $18 million of combined ARPA and reserve funds to fund the budget. But 2 commissioners did not want to hear any options. And that's why we're here today. May I remind you and remind everyone that that was not an election year for the commissioners. So spend, spend, spend. This year is an election year, and all of a sudden we're meeting revenue neutral. The city's coming up with revenue neutral, and to pay the budget. And the ARPA funds are obligated. But I'll bet that 3 commissioners will vote to exceed the revenue neutral rate again. and that's why we're here. They just can't keep their hands out of our pockets. Fees, fees, fees are going up for everything, and the commission believes that as taxpayers, you must have additional skin in the game, as a 14% rise in your property tax is not enough. We pay income tax, sales tax, property tax, and other taxes. There's ad valorem tax that you can't seem to get from the state, but you want me to pay more tax. Hey, I can pay the tax. I don't like it, but I can pay my tax. A lot of folks, including some people working in the city, cannot. You have to decide between the needs of the city and your wants. You might want a new park trail, but you don't need it. You might want a splash pad, but you don't need it. You might want public transportation, but you don't need it. People might want trash bags, but you don't need them. You might want a pickleball court, but you don't need it. I would suggest that you place a line in the budget to save for these projects that you want. I say balance the budget, spend within your means, don't go over the budget and then raise the mill levy to match your spending habits. Vote on revenue neutral and let the city get back on a solid fiscal grounds. That's what I would do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone from the public wish to speak to the commission? Thank you all for coming up and expressing your concerns and letting your voices be heard. At this time, we'll motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Public hearing has been closed. I'll begin voting with Commissioner Leonhardt.
Aye.
What are we voting on?
To close the
Closing
public
the
hearing.
Just to close the public
Oh.
meeting.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Public hearing has been closed. Consider resolution B 2343, approval to exceed revenue neutral rate. This requires a roll call.
Are there any further questions for
Yeah, do we
staff?
have any questions?
No, I appreciate you listening, Paul and Roberta, again, I appreciate it, and, yeah, thank you for the information.
Starting with Commissioner Leonhardt.
Okay, what do I,
A
oh, we
roll
just need a
call
roll call.
to approve.
So approval to exceed revenue neutral rate, yes.
No?
I'm gonna say no.
No.
Okay.
Thank you all for coming out. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So before, we still will have the budget open hearing, we'll still have the budget hearing, so any comments on the budget, and then staff will have to go back and cut the funds indicated from revenue neutral from the city budget.
All right.
So the budget will not be up for a vote tonight, but we'll still hold the public hearing.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Public hearing on 2024 operating in 2024, 2028 capital budgets. Open public hearing. Motion to open public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
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 All right, we're now into our public hearing. Staff presentation.
At this point, with no budget before you, the presentations from June 20th, June 30th, July 11th, July 18th stand. The budget's been online for about 2 months, so I have no other comments on the budget unless there are any questions.
Any comments from the public regarding the budget? Not? All right. Comments from the commissioner?
No.
No?
Motion to close the public hearing
So moved.
Second?
has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Leonhardt.
Aye.
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 Close public hearing. Adopt the 2024
So
operating.
I would probably recommend
Go ahead.
that you move in some way to have this matter
Tabled.
tabled until
Okay.
September 12th, at
Okay.
which time a final budget would be presented. And if you want, you can just say so moved. Anybody?
So move.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
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 Pass 4-0. public hearing waiver of distance requirement temporary liquor permit at St. Joseph Church.
This will be handled by Sarah Bodensteiner, the city clerk.
So for the third time tonight, we do need to open another public hearing.
Oh,
We do.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Second.
Begin voting with Commissioner Leonhardt.
Aye.
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 Thank
Open the
you.
public hearing.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, before you this evening is consideration for a request to waive the distance requirement to allow the St. Joseph Church to apply for a temporary liquor permit for their annual German Fest event. That will be held Saturday, October 7th. The city code allows for the city commission to waive the 300-foot distance requirement in order for the church to have and apply for the temporary liquor permit. Letters were sent to all property owners within 300 feet of St. Joseph Church notifying of the public hearing this evening. I did receive a letter of support today from a property owner that was in support of the waiver, and also John and Teresa Williams from the parish are here if you have any questions. So before you tonight, after you hear from the Williamses and anyone from the public, would be to consider the waiver and grant it as requested.
Any questions?
Question,
Yes,
you gonna have German beer?
that will be definite.
Okay.
Yes.
And is a German person going to make the sauerbraten?
That would be a yes.
Thank you. Those are important things.
So would you like for me to give you the whole spiel, or
Yes.
can we just go
Yes.
with that?
Go ahead.
I was afraid you'd say that.
Go ahead.
Commissioner,
yes.
Mr. Mayor, and distinguished commissioners, I am John Williams, and this is my lovely wife Teresa. We are here from St. Joseph Immaculate Conception Church, and we are asking for the waiver for a liquor permit at St. Joseph Church, 06 North Broadway, this year's St. Joseph's German Fest. Now, for our history portion of the request, which has several times been demanded by the commissioners. The present German-style Gothic church was dedicated in 1871 by Bishop Miesches and Fink. The German language was spoken in the parish for over 80 years, and since 2002, we have had a celebration of the annual German Fest to honor the rich ethnic history of St. Joseph community. We are requesting the waiver for Saturday, October the 7th. The German Fest will include a 4 p.m. Mass, dinner from 5 to 8, and of course the German and traditional beers at the beer garden. The food will include the ethnic German food, sauerbraten, brats, my personal favorite, hot German potato salad, red cabbage, homemade desserts, drinks, tea, water, so forth. All for the low price of $12 for adults and $5 for children. The beer garden is, we'll have the German beer and a variety of traditional beers. We will have a raffle of a homemade sewn German-style quilt, cash prizes, and a German basket of goodies. The silent auction bids of the St. Joseph stained glass window pane, refurbished glass from the St. Joseph Church from the past renovation. The music is from the Fest House Music Canton Band, polka and traditional songs. Last year, over 300 participants, including parishioners and fellow community friends, attended the event. Father Glenn Snow emphasizes the fellowship that is nurtured during our fundraisers. We would like to invite the mayor and any and all the commissioners. I've seen several of you at our different events, and we appreciate that. And thank you for your time, and any questions? Any other questions?
No.
I have none.
No.
No. Thank you. Appreciate it.
We thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, John, Teresa.
Yep.
Motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Has been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Public hearing has been closed. Motion to consider waiver.
Okay, I move to approve the waiver of distant requirement temporary liquor permit at St. Joseph Church for October 7th.
Second.
A motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
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 Motion carried 4-0. Item number 7, review of unsafe and dangerous structure, given 60-day extension at June 13th meeting.
Julie?
Okay. Just a second.
Okay. So as you'll recall, we first started taking a look at our dangerous and unsafe structures back in April of this year. City Commission passed a resolution regarding potential demolition of 10 properties at that time. On that date, the commission voted to grant a 60-day extension to 5 properties. These 2 properties we're gonna look at in June were given an additional 60-day extension, so we're just gonna take a look at those 2 and have an update on those. The first is 200 Osage Street. It was a 2-story accessory structure. Work is ongoing. They've removed the 2nd story, but they have not installed a new roof yet. This picture is from November, actually. That's from June. They had started working on it. That's when you granted them another extension. And this is as of today. They've got kind of their pile of debris there. They are working on it. They kind of, I think, pulled the 2nd story down. They have permits on it. They are working. It's ongoing. So again, they have not quite reached the end of that, but there's kind of a side view. You can see that the 2nd story is gone. That was the most dangerous part of it. And they've indicated that they intend to just kind of keep this as a 1-story accessory structure. So they're slowly but surely getting there. The next one is 229 Osage Street. There has been no change from June as of this morning. This was actually a fire structure. It was damaged mainly in the back of the house. This picture is from November. There's from the back in November. This is in June. You could see they had started working. They did have building permits pulled. We're ongoing work on that as of June. And then this is as of today. There has been no change or no further progress from June. And I will also note that staff has had no contact from either of the property owners on either of these. So, as always, your options on these are a motion to remove the properties from the demolition list if you feel that sufficient progress has been made. Motion to grant an extension to complete the repairs that are needed, or to direct staff to proceed with demolition of the properties.
Well, questions or comments from the commission?
Is there any way to, since they've already started, got some progress rolling, I mean, can we, which is, 100% better than, what it was as far as progress goes, is there a way to, put a time limit on?
Extend the extension.
Right, so if you remove
Based
it
off
from
of-
the demolition, I think you wanna grant an extension so they finish everything.
Correct.
And if you remove it from demolition,
Then they could
then.
potentially
So-
stop.
Process.
So Attorney Waters can correct me if I'm
Okay.
wrong, but the commission has already, basically voted to move forward with demolition. They're just currently working under an extension. So,
Okay.
you can give another extension,
Okay.
whether that be you want them to come back to the commission, or, you can kind of direct staff to keep an eye on it for a certain amount of time, and if nothing happens, then staff would just proceed with demolition. Because again, the commission has already basically voted that these are dangerous and need to come down. They're just currently under an extension. So whatever you do, staff can proceed with our process for demolishing them. If you want to give another extension, have them come back, have staff keep an eye on it, you've got a few options.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend an extension since
Yeah.
they've already started.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, the work itself and.
Ms. Hurley,
Yeah.
can you tell us, from the pictures we've seen, okay, the 2nd floor is gone. Is there any idea of what is up there now?
It's the second half.
Has the roof started to be constructed over there? or-
No, it has not. They have not, let me get back. So yeah, this is as of this morning, so you can tell they haven't even cleaned up the construction debris. So they do have a permit, they just have not started that roof yet.
Right.
So this one, we've been seeing change in it, in the fact that they've taken the 2nd story down now within the last 2 months. They've not proceeded with the roof yet. So this is again as of this morning, about 9 AM.
So if we grant the 60-day extension, if we decided to move forward with an extension, will you notify the owners on the extension, or how does that work?
Yes, we always get in touch with them, and let them know what it is. Again, we haven't had any communication from the owners since the last time, but we do always keep them informed of where it's at.
Okay, well, I've seen some progress on this particular property, and like I said, I would be in favor of moving forward with an extension.
Would you like to see it back before the commission?
I would, yes.
Yeah, and what do you think?
I'd
60
say
days?
60 days.
So
yeah.
a date we'd be looking at, would be to have it reviewed again at the October 24th commission
Okay.
meeting.
Cool deal.
Are we in favor of that? Have consensus, move forward, 60 days?
Okay, so, and then,
Make a motion, yeah.
well,
She
we can
got
do, I
it.
think we can
Yeah,
do one
we're gonna do it,
motion at
yeah,
the
yeah, at
end.
the
So
end.
we'll keep
Okay.
track of your decisions and have one motion
You've
at
already
the end.
passed everything, so you're just,
Or-
you're giving staff direction.
Yeah, direct, okay, so we don't need a
Okay,
motion,
gotcha.
okay.
So I'm fine with this.
Apologize, yeah, okay. And then 229 Osage, this was, they had done a fair amount of work between April and June, and then we've seen no further progress since June.
Yeah, that's kind of bothersome.
So that'd, again, be up to you if you want staff to try to reach out again, make contact with the property owners since they have already started work. It's up to you.
Julie, when was the last time there was contact?
Yeah, that one looks pretty.
It hasn't been since the June meeting. I'd have to look in the file, but at some point between April and June.
Is the last contact? you said?
Yes.
Can we give them 30 days to be in contact?
Well, we want to keep them all consistent,
Yeah.
so it's not like.
Yeah, so I would say if you want to look at giving this one some more time, have this one also come back at the October 24th meeting, and
Yeah.
staff, like usual, we'll, go to our best effort to make contact with the property owners and see what we can do.
Okay, yeah.
At some point, we
Yeah, we
do
gotta
have to
move
move
forward.
forward. I mean, I think what we don't realize is sometimes is these extensions are based off about 6 months of notification ahead of time. So the extensions
Yeah.
are piled on top. So we get it, we're probably gonna close in on a year pretty quick since original notification, on these properties.
And so just say if we did do the
Yeah.
extensions, there's no progress, then what do we?
Then we start the process, which
Okay.
is disconnecting utilities and doing
It's
that.
about
So
a
it's
90-day
Right.
It's an additional
process
90
from when we,
days.
because just to give you an example, at the April meeting, there were a couple of properties that you voted to just proceed with demolition with, no extension. Those just came down within the last few weeks. It takes us that long, we have to do, because we do use CDBG federal money. There's a number of environmental reviews that we have to do for HUD guidelines, getting the utilities disconnected. We have to hire an environmental contractor to do asbestos inspection and abatement, because the majority of these properties have asbestos in them that has to be abated. It's a pretty lengthy process. We have to then put a bid package together for a demolition contractor, have that out to bid, give time. And then once we sign a contract, they have 30 days to get them down. It takes a minute.
So I guess the question is, the 60-day extension, is that too long?
And that's
That's what I'm
up to you.
asking,
If you,
yeah.
you could have them come back in about a month
Well,
and
the
see.
last time you had a conversation with the people, when.
And they were aware that we were discussing this
Yeah.
tonight,
And just-
so there's nobody here.
Yeah, that's.
But it's certainly,
Yeah.
60 days puts it in line with the other one, for
Yeah,
staff,
I'm
it's really
okay with
irrelevant.
that. I mean,
Yeah.
just- And then let's,
Take a vote
Okay,
at the same time.
yep.
Yeah.
60 days.
So I move that we grant the 60-day extension on the demolition order to 200 Osage Street and 229 Osage Street.
I don't think we did a motion.
Second.
So just, yeah, yep,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
so we'll bring those both back,
Well, then we don't need a
October
motion.
24th. And then just a little bit of an update, I mentioned that we've had two
I
that.
mean, a motion was made, so you
Oh,
might
sorry,
you might as well go through with it.
Sorry.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
Yep, motion has been seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. 4-0.
Okay, so we'll see him back in a couple of months. And then, the two that, we had demolished, 817 North 16th and 212 Olive. Again, that just happened within the last couple of weeks, and that was back in April that we decided to move
Right.
forward on those, so that kind of gives you an idea. There were a few others that were working with extensions, 1030 Miami. Staff's working with that owner, they're, intending to take it down themselves, they're dealing with some personal medical issues, so we're, we've given them kind of a deadline on our own on that to get that down by the end of October. 612 North Second and 1028 Quincy. Those property owners both have signed remediation agreements and are working on those. And then, we've got 710 South 7th Street. That is, had an extension also from the commission. That property owner is intending to take that property down himself. He's doing a replat of his property, to reconfigure property lines to make it a little bit easier to rebuild on it. That plat has been filed and is going to the planning commission next month. So all of these we're seeing progress on. And again, just to kind of refresh, any that you've given extensions to, that means that you had voted to move forward with demolition. You're just allowing those property owners time to do some work before we take it down. But should work not happen, those can be taken down. So,
Yep, thank you.
Appreciate it.
okay,
Thank you
yep,
so
we'll see
much.
you back in a couple of months.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, number 9, consider supplemental design services for the Valley Street sidewalk.
Number
This
8.
one. Number 8.
Oh, my bad. Number 8, consider approval of scope and fee for the downtown ADA intersection ramp project.
This would be Brian Faust, the Director of Public Works.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. The item this evening is to consider approval of a contract with Wilson and Company for development of plans and specifications for the downtown ADA ramp intersection program. It is important for our community to provide opportunity for all of our residents and visitors by removing access barriers. A number of businesses in our downtown have received requests and have worked to improve access to various buildings and shops. A transition plan for public infrastructure that works to remove similar barriers at our intersections is important and shows the city is doing its part to improve access. Intersection ramps in our downtown will be upgraded to meet current ADA PROAG, and PROAG stands for Public Rights-of-Way Accessibility Guidelines. I'll have some pictures here that kind of show some of the ones that do not meet current PROAG. These are in our downtown, and also I would like to add, we're not doing 4th Street as part of this. The 4th Street from Choctaw to Seneca will be improved with our 4th Street project in 2024. Another intersection, there's really no way for someone that has mobility issues to access this area. Similar to this one. This is an example, this is by the water office, of a good intersection, and this is when we're done with the project, this is what our intersections will look like. They will have truncated domes, which are detectable warning devices before you enter the public streets. And there's requirements as far as cross slope and longitudinal slope on all of these. The city requested a scope and fee from Wilson and Company for the design of approximately 100 ADA ramps in our downtown. The limits are Choctaw on the south, Seneca to the north, Esplanade on the east, and Broadway to the west. The cost will be funded with sidewalk and curb funds contained within the adopted CIP. The design is in an amount not to exceed $39,750. The actual replacement of the ramps will take place over a number of years. So we'll just work those in with the current budget. So like I said, it will take a number of years. Staff recommends approval of the contract with Wilson and Company for the downtown ADA ramp intersection ramp project and authorize the mayor to sign a contract in an amount not to exceed $39,750. And I'd be happy to answer your question.
Mr. Mayor, just a couple comments. The city also, every 5 years, has to do what's called a Title VI review. So any entity that receives funds from KDOT has to do a Title VI review, and that shows the city is required to document its efforts for accessibility in the city of Leavenworth. Failure to do that or failure to meet the Title VI standards could result in no KDOT funding, could put you in jeopardy of that. In addition, I've been involved in a couple mediations with an individual alleging cities' violations of the Americans with Disabilities Act. In those mediations, they want to see your what's called an ADA transition plan. Your transition plan is the plan that you have in place. You don't have to construct it, but you have to have a plan in place to address impediments. So the question may be, why are we doing 100? A couple of different reasons. We've gotten a couple planning grants recently. We got the Safe Streets for All grant And funding for those is required, along with your plan. Funding is also given to shovel-ready projects. How do you have shovel-ready projects? You have them designed. So as we are able to get grant funding, project funding, individual funding, we'll have these 100 intersections available for design. Also be able to meet our Title VI obligations through KDOT and our ADA transition plan requirements to the Department of Justice.
Appreciate it, Paul. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the commissioners?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Falls. If there's nothing, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the contract with Wilson and Company for the downtown ADA intersection ramp project and authorize the mayor to sign a contract in the amount not to exceed $39,750.
Second.
A motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Leonhardt.
Aye.
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 Motion carried 4-0. Next item on the agenda, consider supplemental design services for the Violet Street sidewalk improvements.
Back in March of 2022, the city submitted 2 Transportation Alternatives Grants, or TA grants, applications to KDOT for sidewalk and ADA improvements along Violet. One was from 10th to 20th, and the second one was 20th to 22nd. During the review process, KDOT requested that 2 projects be combined into 1 grant application. The Violet Street project was selected to receive federal grants from the TA program in July of 2022. The total estimated cost for the construction of the project is a little over $1.58 million, with a TA award for 80% of construction, so $1.26. And the local share is about $316,000 or 20%. TA funding is only available for construction and construction inspection. The city is financially responsible for the preliminary engineering design, right-of-way and utility relocation, along with the 20% of construction match. The City Commission approved the original design contract with Bartlett & West Engineers for design services this past January in an amount of $198,666. Design is progressing and field check with city staff and KDOT is complete. As part of the field check, staff walked the entire site with KDOT and the consultant and identified a number of additional properties where easements are needed. If these easements are obtained, less retaining walls need to be built. And this would basically reduce the overall construction cost of the contract. But in the meantime, the trade-off is that there'll be more design cost to reduce the overall construction cost. Staff worked with Bartlett & West on their fee and arrived at a supplemental services amount of not to exceed $40,158. The majority of this cost, a little over $38,000, is for work associated with survey and legal descriptions for the additional 23 parcels that are needed. The total cost for design will increase from $198,666 to $238,824. The cost for the additional service is not to an exceed of $40,158 and will be funded with federal fund exchange dollars. Staff does recommend approval of the additional design services with Bartlett & West in the amount, again, not to exceed $40,158. Be happy to answer any questions you have.
We'll track with the reduction of, retaining walls are usually some of the most expensive elements of a project, but the lack of requirements for some of these retaining walls, we'll track how much we save off that, and I bet we come pretty close to this design alternative. And again, the design contract is for not only the 10th to 20th, but also 20th to 22nd, which is a reconstruction of the roadway just on the north side of Henry Leavenworth Elementary.
Okay, appreciate it.
Cool.
Any question?
No.
Question?
No.
If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the additional design services with Bartlett & West for the Violet Street ADA and sidewalk upgrades project in an amount not to exceed $40,158.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Leonhardt.
Aye.
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 Motion carried 4-0. Next item on the agenda, first consideration ordinance to adopt standard traffic ordinance 50th edition.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, the police department is before the governing body this evening asking for you to place an ordinance on first consideration to adopt the 50th edition of the standard traffic ordinance for Kansas cities for use by the city of Leavenworth. Every year, the League of Municipalities produces this document, and we've used it for many years. It establishes the police officer's authority to enforce basic traffic functions such as speeding. We've done that for many, many years. I've outlined just a very few small changes that took place from last year to this year. I think that's the lowest number I've ever seen in the many years I've been reviewing this. There's just a couple that's usually very small language changes. There's nothing earth-shattering in there that would cause anything. The penalties or definitions change, that thing, very, very small, minor changes. So I would ask you again to place an ordinance on first consideration that adopts the 50th edition of the standard traffic ordinance for Kansas cities for use by the city of Leavenworth Police Department.
Any questions or comments?
Yes, sir.
Additional lighting equipment. You're talking about on a police car?
No, it's
Are we
typically,
talking about-
in that one, I think it has to do with, on a car, on a particular vehicle, lighting equipment. Sometimes it has to do with tow companies, they change lights on towing, that kind of thing, but not anything that's significant that we would be concerned about.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other comments?
No.
Have you got a consensus to move forward?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you, Chief. Next item, first consideration ordinance to adopt Uniform Public Offense Code 39th edition.
Yes, sir, same thing, Mr. Mayor and Commission. The police department's requesting the place an ordinance on first consideration that adopts the Uniform Public Offense Code for Kansas cities, which is the 39th edition. Each year, the League of Municipalities also produces a uniform public offense code that we've used for many, many years for police officers to enforce local laws here in the city of Leavenworth. It doesn't take effect until you pass the books. I've outlined the changes here. Most of them are very small. They've added one new ordinance of consideration this year. There is a specific offense related to battery against a healthcare worker that's outlined. We've seen an uptick over the last few years of nurses and healthcare staff in the emergency room being attacked with some violence, and so they added an ordinance in here that we could make specific to healthcare workers. That's really probably the only significant thing. Everything else is fairly minor changes, nothing earth-shattering in there as well. And so I would ask you to adopt the 39th edition of the Uniform Public Offense Codes for the city of Leavenworth.
Chief, just real quick, so we didn't have anything that covered that already? Or-
So there's been a trend in the last 5 or 6 years. So regardless of what your status is, it's illegal for me to batter you, right?
Sure.
But we've, for some particular reason, we've identified specific categories that are effective. For example, teachers, that was the first one I saw several years ago. We saw an uptick in attacks on teachers by students, so they made battery against a school employee a specific ordinance. Firefighters, prison guards, that kind of thing. And so it's a thing that's been going on for the last 7 or 8 years. It's still illegal, but the legislature and then the league decided to include that as a specific offense. So I think it makes it a category in and of itself.
Sometimes there are enhanced penalties for those as well. Sometimes those come along with battery against whatever is a
Okay,
stiffer
I was
penalty
like,
than
I'm
battery
sure it was
against
wrong before,
somebody
so,
else.
yeah, okay, yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else have any comments? If not, consensus to move forward.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda, first consideration ordinance to adopt 2023 intersection traffic control device master index.
Mr. Mayor, Commission, the city of Leavenworth has a philosophy of controlling each intersection within the city. There's a variety of options available, stop signs, four-way stops, traffic signals, and we adopt those every year. We bring it back to you once a year for consideration. There's been one change this year. We added intersection control to 20th Street and West Glen Court, which is the new subdivision that's going in out there. They added a stop sign, or they controlled that intersection. So we would ask you to reaffirm and pass the master control index so all of the intersections are reaffirmed and we can enforce if there's a violation there.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yep, appreciate it. Questions or comments?
No?
Consensus to move forward?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Next item on the agenda, consent agenda. Commissioner Leonhardt.
I move to approve claims for August 5th, 2023 through August 18th, 2023 in the amount of $596,411.55. Net amount for payroll number 16 effective August 11, 2023, in the amount of $393,661.93, no police and fire pension.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
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 Motion carried 4-0. That concludes our city commission meeting. At this time, we'd like to go around the table for any updates, starting with our city manager.
Sure, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I just want to make a comment about refuse. School board asked me about it last night. So we were doing better, and we're still doing better. We have one start, a new one start, employee start, and we have another one potentially starting this week, but then this heat. So we got a little bit behind on Monday. We finished Monday's route this morning at about 8, so about an hour and a half to 2 hours later. We are mandating water breaks. We're also giving all supervisors full authority to pull a truck for a rest, shade, cooling down. So we're probably not going to put it out on Facebook. We may or may not. Your trash is probably going to be, as the week progresses, as we get 2 hours behind or 4 hours behind, it's probably going to be picked up the next day, but it will be. It's only going to get hotter. Hopefully next week is better. But there's really nothing we can do that will jeopardize safety. So we're gonna do water breaks and mandatory breaks.
Good.
And we'll pick up the trash. We'll probably be able to finish on Friday. If not, they'll finish Saturday morning. But we just got to get through this week. So if you can just bear with us and the public can bear with us, then we can get through. So I just want to make that note. And then finally, just a quick note: the project, speed control project north of the high school is out to bid, and we can potentially have it awarded next month. So it's on the street right now.
Cool.
Appreciate
That's
you.
the traffic calming?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That's all I have.
Commissioner Leonhardt,
No comments at this time.
Commissioner England.
There's several things coming up over this weekend, and I hope many of you will partake of the festivities. The Casa Run is coming up, the Casa Superheroes Run is coming up. It's 5K, I believe. Are you going to participate?
No, sir.
Oh.
I'll be there. I'll be
there. Also, there's a charm hunt coming up. It'll be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, starting off over at the, what used to be known as the Hollywood Theater, to pick up your map and go pick up charms from the various businesses that are giving them out. Also, Leavenworth Art in the Park at Stubby Park will be coming up this weekend. All of these things are outdoors, a lot of outdoor activity, and it's really hot. So I would advise everybody, please stay hydrated, keep cool, walk in the shade when you can, run in the shade when you can, that sort of thing. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate it. Commissioner Martin.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. No, I just want to say thank you to my commission team tonight and on just the stance on the revenue neutral rate and everything. And anyway, we're in tougher times right now, and I think it makes things challenging for everybody. So we just got to continue to move forward and chart everything out. But I wish everybody had a good rest of the week.
Yeah, I just want to thank you to the city staff for everything that you're doing for our community as a whole. Definitely want a special shout out to the refuge workers for their hard work. I see that they're out there, and right now they are the heroes. They are definitely meeting the needs of the city on the front line. So just want to say thank you to all, and also to the teachers and the students in their second week in school. I've heard some great things, and so just want us to continue to pray for everybody as a whole as a community. God bless you all, and hope you all have a great week. That concludes our meeting. Motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? None. Meeting adjourned.